I'm Kerry Fink with Helping Seniors of Brevard, and it's a pleasure to welcome both you who are viewing and everybody that's here this morning as we're going to continue our learning series called Get Your Ducks in a Row. If you've been around helping seniors for any amount of time, you know that our president and founder, Joe Steckler, he's like the strongest advocate for seniors that there ever could be. And one of the things he talks about that's so important is a thing that he calls making your aging plan. And to some people, they think that's like a retirement plan, like I've got to save a certain amount of money for the things I want to do. And that's certainly a part of it. But what we talk about when we mean an aging plan is getting everything together for the things that you might run into along the way. We talk a lot about it being very similar to, we're familiar because we're here in Florida, we're very familiar with the idea of a hurricane plan, right? So we hope the hurricane doesn't come near us, but we want to have some ideas of the things we would do in case it were to approach us. And so one of the things that we set out to do, we actually set it for our theme for 2022, and to just make it a little bit more lighthearted, we decided to call it "Get Your Ducks in a Row." That's a a euphemism where people say, "Well, do you have your ducks in a row?" Well, that's another word for let's work on getting your aging plan together. So what we're doing, this is part of the community information series that we do every last Monday right here in the Nautilus Ballroom at Zon Beachside, luxury assisted living and memory care facility. They're kind enough to make this spot available to us so that we can invite the public in and try to help give you some tips and ideas that are going to help you along the way. And we can't do this without the partners who are part of a thing called the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. And so we have a number of great businesses that communicate and work for and work on behalf of seniors in our area, helping seniors of Brevard. We're the Florida nonprofit that's our mission for now into our 12th year of serving the community with our senior information helpline. It's a free call at 321-473-7770. And our goal is to get people connected to resources and information. We get everything from crisis calls to the people who are also busy planning ahead and trying to find the right resources. If you live here in Florida, you know we're getting a lot of new neighbors. Everybody is moving to Florida these days. And a lot of those people don't have the benefit that folks who've lived here for a while have, which is we know who to call, where to go to for things. So we get a lot of calls from people coming in. We also get a lot of calls from the adult children of folks who are here. Maybe they're still up north where mom and dad are from, and they come down and visit mom and dad every once in a while, and they realize that there's some things that would be helpful for mom or dad. So then they're calling us and asking for that help. So we've helped more than 4,500 families free of charge to date. Joe Steckler established this in 2011. And I guess it's been almost 4 or 5 years we've had a senior resource center of Brevard. We weren't able to do as much physically back during the COVID days, but it's so exciting to see us have the chance to gather together and do this kind of education for the community. So one of our great partners who's in the spotlight for today is the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen. If you know anything about Amy, she's another champion for let's take care of our seniors, let's go above and beyond and do the things that are going to help them age and be prepared for everything that they run up against at all points. And she has assembled a great team of attorneys and staff and team who do that work. And so we thought we can't get too deep into the concept of what we're talking about, getting your ducks in a row and making an aging plan, without the wisdom from an attorney who's kind of on the front lines every single day. They've seen it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and they know how to navigate it. And so kind of without really much of a further introduction, I want to introduce Tyler Runte from the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen. She's going to guide us through things that we need to know on today. Tyler, come on up.
Thank you, Kerry. Yes, my name is Tyler Runte, and I work at the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen. A little bit about myself. So I was born and raised in Ocala, Florida. I went to undergrad at University of Florida and law school in Jacksonville. When I graduated law school, I went back to Ocala and worked as a public defender in Marion County. And then my husband and I moved here about 2011, and we have 2 little kids now, 3 and 5. They keep me very, very busy and very tired most of the time. But I started at the law office of Amy B. Van Fossen probably about 7 years ago, And I find that this is where I belong. It is a wonderful field of law. Areas of practice. So I do love this field of law for this reason. These are our areas of practice. We do elder law. So elder law encompasses Medicaid planning, VA planning, estate planning, probate, case management, litigation, guardianship, and trust funding. So trust funding is just kind of a subset of estate planning. But these are areas of practice. And we'll get into the estate planning for the most part today, because that's really getting your ducks in a row in the estate planning world. So what documents do you need to make sure your ducks are in a row in the legal realm? And I will say that of all of these areas, I do primarily practice estate planning, so that is where I live every single day. So what is the difference between estate planning and elder law? So that's kind of a common question we get. What is elder law? So I'll start with elder law. Elder law is a specialized area of legal practice that includes all of those things that were on the previous slide: estate planning, probate, really aging plans, so getting your ducks in a row as you age. Can deal with elder abuse, VA and Medicaid benefits. So elder law is really the big umbrella, and then estate planning is a specialized area, which estate planning is the act of preparing for the transfer of a person's wealth or assets when they pass away. Those assets could include life insurance, pensions, bank accounts, think savings accounts, checking accounts, homes, rental properties, cars, anything you have when you pass away. That is getting prepared so that passes how you want it to pass. So when we talk about getting our ducks in a row as far as estate planning goes, what documents do you need? What exactly, you hear all these words, durable power of attorney, living will healthcare surrogate, wills, trust. What do you specifically need? And if you were to come into our office and say, I have nothing in place, I've never had any of these documents, or we've moved from another state, or my document's older. If you have these listed right here, you are going to have your ducks in a row. Now, are they all needed? Possibly. That's why you consult with an attorney and find out what you need. Do you need all of them? Do you need some of them? If you already have had some prepared, you might not need all of them. But if you have these listed here, you are in a good position. So that includes a revocable trust, a will, a living will healthcare surrogate, a pre-need guardian, a power of attorney, and a deed. So if you have real property, a home, a residence, you want to make sure that your property is titled correctly. So what happens if you don't have all of those documents? You might find yourself in probate, which probate is something that lots of people want to avoid. It's expensive, it takes a lot of time to get through the probate process, so most people want to avoid probate. We certainly can help you do that. If you don't have those documents that were listed on the previous page, you might find yourself in probate. The definition of probate is the court-supervised distribution of a person's assets after he or she passes away. So probate happens if you do not have your assets titled in a certain way so that they transfer without probate when you pass away. If you have to go to probate, the court gets involved and a judge appoints a personal representative for your estate and then signs orders that distribute your assets. It takes a lot of time, especially since COVID. We've found and seen that the resources are just lower. There's not as many people involved in the process on the court side, so it takes a lot of time, and it's also very expensive. So people want to avoid this if possible. If you've had a loved one that has passed away and you've found yourself in this process, you probably understand that. It's something that you want to avoid, if possible. So again, it's time-consuming and frustrating, and it also is kind of a public process. So a lot of the documents are put in the public record, so anybody that wants to view them can. And there's ways to avoid that, to not have it be part of the public record, which we'll talk about in just a second. We've said in the past that most probates last about 12 months. Some can go on for a lot longer, and that's what's happening now. 12 months is kind of on the shorter side now in most cases because of the lack of resources, it's taking longer. Courts are backed up. They just have a backlog. So, again, want to avoid this if possible, and we can help you do that with having all of the appropriate estate planning documents in place. So one of the easiest ways to avoid probate is to have a revocable living trust. A trust is a vehicle where you create the trust. You are the grantor of the trust, the creator of it. You nominate a trustee. Usually the trustee is yourself while you're living. And you have beneficiaries of the trust. So where you want your assets to go when you pass away. Your beneficiaries might be a charity, or they might be a family member, friends. Your beneficiaries can look however you want it to look. Some people do percentages, some people do specific amounts of money to people, but your beneficiaries can be very specific. With a revocable living trust, of course, it is a way to avoid probate. It can have some tax implications. But this one is what I was talking about just a second ago, that it assures maximum privacy over probate or any documents filled with the probate court becoming public knowledge. So a trust is a private document. No one sees that. No, it doesn't get recorded. It doesn't get put in the public record. So all of that information is private, which of course most people want their beneficiary designations to be private. It's not something that you talk to everyone about. That's a private matter. Also, there's rapid distribution of assets to beneficiaries after you pass away. So I was saying you nominate a trustee, usually you during your life. After you pass away, you have successor trustees. So who is going to manage your trust when you are gone? That is called your successor trustee. We have corporate trustees in the world, so you might nominate a bank or a law office, but as well, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be anyone that you want it to be to manage your trust and distribute your trust assets when you pass away. You also, in your trust, I think a really important point about having a trust is that it can be tailored to exactly how you want it to be. So some people have sub-trusts in their trust, and not to get too complex or complicated, but let's say you wanted a beneficiary to only receive money if they went to college or passed a drug test or certain criteria had to be met. That can absolutely be written in your document. So the point I want to get across is that these can be tailored specific to you. Whatever your wishes are, that can be drafted in the document. So questions to answer when you're thinking about creating a trust is, who would be your successor trustees? So a lot of people do choose their children, but it doesn't have to be that. Like I was talking, you can have a corporate trustee, but you want someone that's financially responsible and someone that can handle the job. Also, who would be your beneficiaries? So who is going to inherit from you? And like I was saying a minute ago, that can look any way you want it to look. It could be lots of people, lots of charities. Some people list, one child, but however that is to look for you, we can certainly do that. And I want to also speak to the thought that I think it's a misconception out there that I need to have a lot of money to have a trust. I think that was a thought years ago, but that is not the case at all. Trusts are valuable tools for anyone. If you have one bank account or one piece of property, it could be worth $5,000 or $1,000. You still could benefit from having a trust. So it's a valuable tool for anyone. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming as well. I think that when you hear the word trust, it kind of gives some people some jitters, like, oh, I don't know. I've heard of that, but I don't think I need that. That's not for me. But that's certainly not the case. It's valuable for anyone. In our office, we try to make it as comfortable of a process in creating not just a trust, but all of our estate planning documents. We try to be, kind of bring it down to the level that we try to actually make it fun, believe it or not. So we try to make it fun and comfortable and as simple as it can be. So the next slide goes into wills. So if you have a trust, you would have a pour-over will that goes with your trust. If you do not create a trust, you still are going to want a will. Everybody, at least at the very minimum, needs a will. That is the document that says who is going to inherit from you, again, like a trust. So if you have a trust and a pour-over will, they're going to read almost identical. You're going to have the same beneficiaries, the same personal representatives is what they're called in a will, but they're similar to a trustee. It's the same person that wears a different hat. So a will is used during the probate process. So let's say you end up finding yourself in probate. You are going to use the will during that process. I think another misconception is that, oh, I have a will, I don't need to go to probate. That's not the case at all. A will is used during the probate process to direct the judge as to who you want your beneficiaries to be, as well as who you want your personal representative to be. The judge will be the one that makes the final say or orders such, but you say in your will who you want those people to be. So if you have a simple will, you would need to, or a pour-over will, you're thinking about who would be your executor or your personal representative. Those two words are interchangeable, mean the same thing. So who is going to be in charge of you distributing your assets when you pass away? And then who is going to be your beneficiaries? And who will be your beneficiaries? And similar to with the trust, that can look any way you want it to look. Okay, now kind of changing from the trust and the will, those documents being used when you pass away. So your trust and your will are used to say who's going to administer my estate or my trust assets and who's going to benefit from it, who are my beneficiaries. So something different is the living will healthcare surrogate. So this document is used while you are living. If you were to come into our office and let us know you do not have this document, you would receive it's a combination. So it's one document that includes both of these items, your living will and your healthcare surrogate. Your living will identifies your healthcare wishes, your living will healthcare surrogate, I should say, identifies your healthcare wishes in writing. It informs your family and doctors of your wishes if you become unable to make decisions for yourself. So the living will is the document that says, I do or I do not want to be kept alive artificially. So if a certain set of criteria are present, do you want machines to be turned off or do you want them to be left on for an indefinite period of time? Is someone else going to make that decision for you, or you wanting your loved ones to know your wishes while you're alive? So that's the living will. That's, it's not the funnest topic to talk about, but it is so important that family members know what you want. We always tell people, losing a loved one is hard in itself. You don't want to put on your loved one that survives you, the pressure or the thought, did I make the decision they would have wanted? So it's so important to have this document in place. It's just something that makes it more comfortable for everyone. The healthcare surrogate piece of the document states who you want to make medical decisions or healthcare decisions for you while you're living. So let's say, and this could be useful for anyone of any age, anyone over the age of 18. So if you are in a car accident and you need surgery or you're in a coma, who would tell the doctors, yes, I consent to that surgery, or please give them this medication. So the healthcare surrogate piece is absolutely beneficial for anyone at any age. And it just says who is to be the one to tell doctors yes or no, or give them this or don't give them this. And again, it's if you are able to communicate your wishes on your own. So of course, you continue to make decisions for yourself while you can, and then it's that time if you were to become incapacitated, even for a brief period of time. So it could be, they're in surgery under anesthesia, and someone else needs to make a decision as to what the next step is. Well, as soon as you come out of that and you're able to make decisions for yourself, the healthcare surrogate would take a back seat, and you continue making decisions for yourself. So this slide gets its own because it is so important that you talk this over with your family. What are your highest priorities? Is it to be pain-free, to not be placed on a breathing machine, to have everything done to keep you alive as long as possible? And this issue is such a personal preference. I mean, there's people on both ends of the spectrum, and neither is right or wrong. It's just a personal preference. So you just want to make sure that your wishes are conveyed. And I think with the living will, it's important to know the difference between a living will and a DNR. So a lot of times we'll have people that come in the office and they say, oh, I have a DNR, I'm good, I don't need a living will. And that's not the case. A DNR is a do not resuscitate order, which is a bright yellow sheet of paper that should be placed on your refrigerator, in your wallet, somewhere that if paramedics were to come, let's say to your home or to a car accident or find you, they would know, okay, I see this bright yellow piece of paper, they do not want to be resuscitated. A living will is different in that I usually think of a DNR as they had a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. A living will can be a slow, steady decline in your health that at some point gets to, maybe a vegetative state where the machines would be turned off. So they are two different things, and you may want both or you may want neither, but it's important to know that they're two separate documents. Biggest takeaway is talk to your family, make sure everyone's on the same page, and everyone is comfortable with your wishes and knows what your wishes are. Not that they have to agree, but they need to know what you want. So for the healthcare surrogate, you will list someone to make medical decisions for you, and then you'll want to put a backup. And that goes for all of your documents. Same thing with a trust and a will as far as your personal representative or trustee. You always want a backup plan to your first agent. So you have one person listed, or maybe two, and then you want a backup plan. If that person predeceased you, or if that person was unable to make decisions for you, who would be the backup? And then as far as the living will, do you want one? Do you want life support terminated? If so, at what stages, under what conditions? The next document is a pre-need guardian form. So a pre-need guardian is a declaration naming a pre-need guardian and used to designate in advance the person you want to manage your affairs and act as your guardian should you become mentally or physically disabled or incapacitated. So this often happens as people age, think Alzheimer's, dementia. This is when a doctor says this person can no longer make decisions for themselves. They lack capacity. So a doctor will provide a report or an evaluation that says this person cannot make decisions for themselves, and a case is put forth with the court, and a judge will determine who should be this person's guardian. If you have this document in place, you, before becoming incapacitated, have said who you want your guardian to be. If you do not have this in place, the judge would decide, or the panel of people over your case. So in our community, and in every community, there are professional guardianship services that provide this service. So let's say a person doesn't have a family member or a friend in town that is capable or wants to be their guardian, you may find yourself under a guardianship, professional guardianship. If you have the pre-need guardian, you say who you want your guardian to be if that situation ever arose. So for a pre-need guardian, who do you want to be your guardian, and who do you want to be the backup? Oftentimes this is children, but oftentimes you might not have children in town, or that might not be the right fit, or you don't have children. Our office does case management, so sometimes we act as fiduciaries in capacities that I'm talking about. But there are lots of companies and organizations that provide that type of service, so that's always an option too. I think that it's scary for some people that don't have loved ones in town or loved ones at all. They don't have any friends or family. There are companies out there that are designed to do this for people. All right, the next one is a power of attorney. So this is a big one, arguably to us the most important. So a power of attorney is a legal document that allows someone to make broad legal and financial decisions for you. So think, if I'm unable to make legal or financial decisions for myself, who's going to do it for me? Which gives people the scaries sometimes, because it's money and it's someone else handling your money. So you want to make sure you're naming your most trusted person, or your confidant, to act in this capacity. Some people have the medical, nurse, emotional child, and the more financially, so that works out for those people. But you want to make sure that you have someone that can handle this job, and won't act, is frugal enough or financially responsible enough to do this. Because it's important that your money is used wisely as you age. Should you need to go to a nursing home or an assisted living, all those things are really important. So Florida has in October of 2011 and in 2013, Florida's power of attorney changed drastically. So if someone comes into our office that has a power of attorney that predates these times, we recommend that it's redone, absolutely. Florida now has specific powers listed within the power of attorney document that must be initialed to allow your agent to do those specific things for you. All of those specific items are very, very, very important. Should you need to qualify for Medicaid, should you need some other sort of benefit, you need to make sure those items are initialed. A lot of people think, oh, I had a power of attorney done 20, 30 years ago. It needs to be redone. Absolutely needs to be redone. So a power of attorney is good while you're living. Once you pass away, the power of attorney is no longer valid, and then it kind of transfers over to that trust or will document that takes over, and someone acts for you after you've passed. So this is good while you're living. Another little note is that our office typically does general powers of attorney or durable powers of attorney, but there are specific powers of attorney out there that can be done, or special powers of attorney, they're sometimes called, for just one specific purpose. So if you want to allow someone to act for you in a real estate transaction, that can be done. So questions to ask when you are thinking about having a power of attorney: who do you want to make these decisions for you, and are they financially responsible? Who is the backup to that person? Are they married? Do you like their spouse? And the reason why we put that on there is the spouse isn't the one making the decision for you, but your agent can certainly consult anyone they want to. No one's looking over their shoulder saying, well, don't talk to this person about it, or you can't have this conversation. So you want to make sure that it's just a right person in the whole scheme. Do they have capacity to make decisions for you? Are they on the verge? Is it someone that you're not sure today or tomorrow might be the right person? You just want to think it through. And again, there are offices, law offices that can act in this capacity, or banks or such that can do this for you if you don't have someone for yourself, or case managers as well. Another important point on here is you don't want to wait till it's too late. So you can only sign documents while you have capacity. We find that a lot of people, even right before losing capacity, sometimes they get a little bit guarded. So if you have family members that you see trending that way, it's important to get these documents done soon so that you don't wait till it's too late. If people aren't able to sign the documents, then you might find yourself in guardianship, which, you try to avoid that, of course. So some of the benefits of planning ahead: of course, we always say be proactive, be prepared, have these conversations, but it can avoid lengthy and expensive probate or guardianship processes, allows control of how your assets are distributed when you pass away, gives family members access to medical records while you're living. That, of course, is the healthcare surrogate one. You're allowing someone else to have healthcare information about yourself. Allow someone to make legal decisions for you if you're not able. That's the power of attorney. So you're allowing someone else to make decisions for you legally or financially. A step further from just the estate planning documents is planning your aging plan or your family plan. So having a conversation with your loved ones about a broader scope than just estate planning documents. For instance, you know, what's going to happen if you can't stay home anymore? Are you going to go to an assisted living? Are you going to have in-home care come in? Are you able to afford that? Do your children think it's their responsibility to move where you are? Are you going to move where they are? All of these questions need to be talked about so that everyone's on the same page. You can even go and visit assisted living facilities while you're able and have an idea of, okay, well, these are my top 3. When the time comes, you tell your children, your nieces and nephews, your whoever, your brothers and sisters, these are the ones I'm liking. So if the time comes, make these a priority. You can also think about it from a financial standpoint. Can you afford them? Does it look like you're going to be able to afford them? Of course, having the conversation with your loved ones, that is the takeaway for the day. Our office offers seminars, this last point here, for VA and Medicaid planning. So that is a big piece of the puzzle. If that looks like it's going to be part of your future, VA benefits or Medicaid planning, that's something we do. So part of your aging plan, absolutely, a little bit out of the scope of the estate planning piece, but a very important part of it. So, like I said, we do have free seminars. We offer them in estate planning and in Medicaid and VA planning. So if you come to one of those, you get a free consultation afterward. So you're really getting a free seminar and then a free one-on-one consultation. And those are very, very helpful. You'll get a lot of information. So again, the law office name is Amy B. Van Fossen, PA. We just moved. So our new address is 211 East New Haven Avenue, Melbourne, Florida 32901. That is right by downtown Melbourne. And our phone number is 321-345-5945. My name is Tyler Runte. Again, I do most of the estate planning in our office. And it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Tyler. You know, it's such a pleasure to have somebody who can articulate and explain very clearly, step by step, the things that you want to keep in mind as you're planning ahead. And I can tell you, because I'm going to ask Nancy Deardorff, who is our operations director for Helping Seniors, to come up and speak for just a moment, because she's on the front end of the receiving calls on the Helping Seniors Senior Information Helpline. And as I have explained at the outset when we were talking about this, is that she's the recipient of calls from people who are trying to plan ahead, but more tragically, people who didn't plan ahead. And then all of a sudden, she's like, you know, you talk to any good firefighter, they would rather come to your home and say, listen, you know, you're storing your gasoline a little bit too close to this over here. You probably want to deal with these electrical cords. They're going to try to tell you stuff that will help keep your home safe, right? Because they would much rather prevent the problem than have to come out there with the whole fire company and, you know, hose down the burning embers that are left. And I have heard so many times, I had a conversation with a gentleman in Amy's office who's one of the attorneys there, and his kind of focus is guardianship. His name is Greg Schwendeman, and he said, Kerry, he said, I can't tell you how often I wish I had met the clients 30 days before this crisis happened. We would have so many other options that we could consider. And so particularly, as you heard in the presentation today, I want to remind you, we make all these available. They broadcast on Space Coast Government Television. We're there 3 times a day, and you can find us there. But you can also find these programs on demand on the YouTube channel. And we had the privilege of sitting down with Tyler Runte and doing a whole program specifically about trust. So I want to encourage you to take a look for that, but also take a look for an opportunity for one of the seminars, because when you think about the value of what you're able to get from somebody that knows these waters, it really makes a difference in everything you do. So Nancy, with that, would you mind coming up and just explain a little bit about what you do, the organization, and why planning ahead is so important?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kerry. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out. For those of you who came out, and for those of you who are watching, very important program, and thank you so much to Tyler Runte. That was an excellent presentation. I wish I knew you 2 years ago. I am the Operations Director and Senior Care Navigator with Helping Seniors of Brevard. And what we do at Helping Seniors of Brevard is we provide information, education, resources, and advocacy for seniors or families and friends of seniors. And our ultimate goal is to improve the life of seniors in Brevard County and beyond. I get calls on our senior helpline from all over the country. Just as Kerry mentioned, adult children from New York calling because their parents retired in Florida and now their parents might need a little extra help. I really enjoyed your presentation, Tyler, and it's so important. And I referenced wishing knowing you 2 years ago because I was on the other end of the spectrum as far as having to be, I was appointed as a successor trustee, became trustee, an executor, personal representative, and I went into the process very ignorant to it. I spent 33 years working as a registered nurse. I'm used to do not resuscitates. I'm used to living wills, healthcare surrogates, because it's something I had to educate my patients on. But when it came to probate, when it came to pour-over wills and trust, I was very, very ignorant. And it was a little bit of a trial by fire, and I'm very happy to say we got our ducks in a row just in time, but barely, because my loved one did not have capacity for very much longer after we got those ducks in a row. So I thank goodness that we did what we did when we did it. But it's very stressful. If you're dealing with an illness, whether it's, in my case, it was a cognitive illness with a loved one, whether it's a dementia process or a physical process or both, and you're going in and out of the hospital and seeing specialists and trying to figure and plan and love your loved ones, it's not the time to start that process. You want to start the process of estate planning early so that you don't have to deal with that when you're dealing with so much other drama and trauma in your life. So thank you, such important information. And our goal here at Helping Seniors is to educate, not to stress you out. Again, that's why we call it ducks in a row. Instead of, get your emergency, we call a emergency plan for hurricane. We don't want to stress you out. We don't want you to worry. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Corny sayings, but true. So act now. Seek advice from a professional like Tyler. And of course, we at Helping Seniors of Brevard are always available. We can be reached on our phone line, 321-473-7770. And the reason we have this phone line is because I'll leave you with this question. How do you know what you don't know? You don't. You can't ask a good question if you don't know what to ask. That's why we exist. I'm not the expert in all these topics like Tyler is with estate planning, but I can connect you to folks like her. So if you're lost, if you're wondering, I get calls from people who don't even know what to ask. And just chat with them for a while, and then I can sort of lead them in the right direction to what they're looking for. So thank you for coming out. Stay educated. Knowledge is power. Take control of your life. And we appreciate you coming out to our Helping Seniors information.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you again, Tyler, for an excellent presentation on today. As we talked about at the outset, we want to give a special thanks to our friends right here at Zon Beachside. This is a great facility here that's located right here at 1894 South Patrick Drive. Greg Kennedy, when we talk about people who know their stuff, Tyler Runte, we talk about Nancy Deardorff, I'm going to throw Greg Kennedy, he's the vice president of Zon Beachside, into this mix. Our president and founder, Joe Steckler, talked with Greg Kennedy before this building was even here. And he said, I want to try to create something state-of-the-art that is going to help people. They use techniques. They use the latest technology. They're well past the things that everybody does about fall prevention. They're trying to actually proactively look using technology to notice if somebody's gait is changing or things that might be indicators that a fall could be coming. So they're really pushing the bounds of the things that the technology now allows us to do to make sure that people are able to be safe, comfortable, and aging well at a place like this. And we can't show you the parking lot right now, but as we come back, you will see that that's where they just literally had a groundbreaking on our building, a new independent living facility, so that they really can cater to everybody as we get older. So again, a special thank you to Zon Beachside. And as we keep going forward on the helping seniors get your ducks in a row idea, I want to remind you that we meet on the last Monday of each month. So our next episode or our next edition or the next seminar we've talked a little bit about legal today. Next month, we're going to be talking about financial. So there's going to be a checklist of financial things that you want to take a look at. And we're going to bring in some top speakers who kind of focus on financial planning, but also, and this is the interesting thing, we talk about retirement planning. And there's two different things that are going on there. One is how you use your money while you're in your working years to plan for your retirement. But there's another aspect. Once you retire, what do you do? When do you start your Social Security? How does it impact the tax benefits? All those different kind of things. Those are the kind of questions we're going to dig deeper into next month when we do the Community Information Series here at Zon. So again, I want to thank you guys for being here this morning. I want to thank you, viewer, for joining us. And we will see you again right here for the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. I'm Kerry Fink with Helping Seniors. We'll see you next time.